Tragedy struck in Algeria's southern desert when a devastating bus accident claimed the lives of at least 34 passengers and left 12 others injured. The collision occurred between a passenger bus and a commercial vehicle, causing a horrific fire that engulfed the vehicles. The accident, which happened near Tamanrasset, marks one of the country's deadliest road crashes in years. Local media shared heart-wrenching images of the mangled and charred wreckage, highlighting the severity of the incident. While the circumstances surrounding the crash are yet to be clarified, speed is often cited as the main cause of road accidents in Algeria. The region where the accident occurred serves as a vital transport hub, connecting Algeria's far south to the coastal north and acting as a transit point for migrants hoping to reach Europe from sub-Saharan Africa. As the nation mourns the lives lost, authorities are conducting rescue operations and investigating the tragedy's exact cause. In Kenya, violent clashes erupted between police officers and protesters as the opposition organized 3 days of demonstrations against a new finance law imposing new taxes. At least 12 people were killed, and many others were injured, including those with gunshot wounds. The protests aimed to force the president to repeal the controversial law, which has raised the price of fuel and triggered widespread discontent among Kenyans. As tensions escalate, religious leaders are calling for dialogue between the government and the opposition to find a peaceful resolution. The opposition has condemned the arrests of elected leaders and associates, while businesses and schools in Nairobi were forced to close during the protests. The situation remains volatile as both sides hold firm on their stances, and the opposition vows to continue the demonstrations in the coming days. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has pardoned an unspecified number of people, including researcher Patrick Zaki, who was sentenced to 3 years in prison for disseminating false news about discrimination against Coptic Christians. Zaki's case gained international attention, especially in Italy, where he was studying before his arrest. The Italian government repeatedly called for his release, and the Italian Senate even granted him citizenship while he was in prison. Following the presidential pardon, Zaki is expected to return to Italy, where he will be warmly welcomed, and Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani praised the government's foreign policy for contributing to his freedom. The pardon has also prompted jubilation among Italian opposition lawmakers. However, despite some positive developments, thousands of political prisoners remain in custody in Egypt, many without trial, highlighting ongoing human rights concerns in the country. Former Manchester City defender Benjamin Mendy has signed a 2-year deal with French club Lorient, just days after being cleared of serious sexual offenses. Mendy left City last month and was cleared of rape and attempted rape charges in England. The 29-year-old, who was involved in 3 Premier League title wins with City, will now begin his professional career with Lorient, who finished 10th in League One last season. Mendy's legal journey has been complex, with multiple charges and trials. In August 2021, he was arrested and charged with 4 counts of rape and 1 count of sexual assault, leading to his suspension from City. After various charges and pleas, he was eventually found not guilty on several counts, which allowed him to resume his career. Lorient welcomed Mendy's signing, and he will wear number 5 for the club as he starts training with them. Morocco's highest court has rejected the final appeals of journalists Omar Radi and Soulamaine Raissouni, upholding their convictions on sexual assault charges, which they denied. Radi was sentenced to 6 years in prison, while Raissouni received a 5-year sentence. Human rights organizations have criticized Morocco, accusing the country of using criminal trials, particularly on alleged sexual offenses, to silence journalists and critics. The Court of Cassation also upheld the conviction of journalist Ahmed Stitu, linked to Radi's case, who was tried in absentia after leaving Morocco. Reporters Without Borders ranked Morocco 144th globally in its World Press Freedom Index, and the European Parliament has expressed concern over the country's deteriorating press freedom, leading to a resolution in January that triggered reactions from Moroccan politicians and media. Lawyers and human rights defenders are urging authorities to find a solution for the journalist's release. Russian President Vladimir Putin announced that Moscow would consider returning to the Ukraine grain deal if its demands were met fully, stating that the agreement had lost its significance. The deal, allowing safe passage of cargo ships from Black Sea ports, was exited by Russia earlier this week. Putin emphasized that one of the main conditions for Russia's potential return would be the withdrawal of sanctions on Russian grain and fertilizers exports to world markets. He accused Western countries of using the deal for political blackmail and benefiting transnational corporations and speculators in the global grain market. The grain deal, brokered by the UN and Turkey, facilitated the export of over 32 million tons of Ukrainian grain in the past year. An investigation is underway after an unexplained blast in Johannesburg, South Africa, which left one person dead and 48 injured. The cause of the explosion remains unclear, and authorities are urging the public to stay away from the scene to facilitate the investigation. Emergency teams are combing through the area, while specialists are being brought in to assess the presence of other underground pipes or cables and the risk of further explosions or gas leaks. The extensive damage in the city's central business district affected at least 34 vehicles and several roads, resembling a scene from an apocalyptic movie. City authorities have called in specialists to examine the area for any other potential underground pipes or cables that might pose a risk of further explosions or gas leaks. Meanwhile, the public anxiously awaits answers as to what caused the devastating blast during rush hour. Eyewitnesses recounted the chaotic scene, with people running in the streets as smoke billowed from the cracked roads. In a developing incident, a fire that started in the Malula forest near the city of Tarbaka, on the border between Algeria and Tunisia, has continued to spread, prompting the closure of the Tebal border post by Algerian authorities. The blaze, which began on Tuesday, has been fiercely battled by Tunisian firefighters, but its expansion has raised concerns about its impact on both countries. With the ongoing firefighting efforts and growing concerns about the fire's effects, Algerian authorities have advised tourists planning to travel to Tunisia to postpone their plans for the time being. Travelers have been redirected to use the border posts of Bab Ouch and El Aoun instead of Tebal until the situation is under control. As the situation unfolds, both nations are closely monitoring the fire's progression, and cooperation between their respective emergency services remains crucial in containing the blaze and preventing further damage. In Dakar, Senegal, young football enthusiasts are flocking to newly built artificial turfs to play their favorite sport. These synthetic pitches offer a smoother surface than the traditional sandy fields, making it easier for players to showcase their skills and improve technically and tactically. The popularity of these artificial turfs has surged in recent years, providing a lucrative investment opportunity for private entrepreneurs. However, the cost of using these pitches is a concern for many as prices can be high, particularly for the average monthly income in Senegal, leading young people to organize themselves to raise funds and reserve a spot to play. The introduction of artificial turfs has also contributed to the development of soccer in Senegal, encouraging the professionalization of the local championship and showcasing the country's soccer talent, including stars like Soulamaine, who led the national team to victory in the Africa Cup of Nations in 2021. As Zimbabwe gears up for its elections, the opposition faces a rough campaign with arrests, blocked events, and limited airtime on national television. With elections scheduled for August 23rd, concerns arise over the fairness of the vote, given the nation's history of political dominance by the ruling party. 12 candidates are running for the presidency, but the main competition is between President Emerson Mnangagwa and Nelson Chamisa of the Citizens Coalition for Change, CCC. Amidst economic challenges, inflation, and fears of vote rigging, the outcome remains uncertain, with varying predictions from different polls. Despite the challenges faced by the opposition, Nelson Chamisa, a charismatic lawyer and pastor, hopes to capitalize on public discontent with Zimbabwe's dire economic situation to gain support in the upcoming elections.